So we're here doing it for the people with another behind the product video. Today, the Deuces Wild. As you can see, we got two throttle bodies, two ECUs. Actually, it's the same ECU. I just put two of them on there because it looked really nice. But these cast aluminum ECUs, as you can see, is very familiar. It's the same housing we use on like the Wild Card and the Kill Shot because we pretty much based the Deuces Wild off the Kill Shot. We just got rid of a couple barrels and made it fit a 2300 flange. They're good for 350 horsepower. And we made it out of popular demand. A lot of people were asking for that application. We looked into it, did a little bit of research, and said, let's just do this. So we did. And here we are. We got the polished one and we got the black one. We don't have pink in this because that was more of a kill shot thing, but it's the same thing. 2300 flange. I'll move this one out the way. And it's boost capable. It's got a 3-bar internal map sensor, two 100-pound-an-hour each injectors. It does have the boost reference port on it. Let me find it. Oh no, it's right there. Two vacuum ports, ported vacuum, nothing crazy. You can go deadhead, depending on if you're using like a bypass return style fuel system or like a Corvette style regulator, or you can do straight through the throttle body to a return style regulator. So I like it. Still got the same IAC hole, same IAC motor, but it's only got half the amount of barrels on it. So if you're running like a straight 6 and it's got a 2300 flange or an old V8 and like an RV, like in my case, or a truck or something cool like that, or something that's not super hungry for horsepower, this is a pretty dynamite system because it has a lot of smooth drivability. The depth of the throttle bores itself actually give the air a lot of time to build velocity to become more efficient as it goes through and past the annular discharge rings for all the fuel and everything. I'm a big fan of this one personally. It does have a smaller connector in the side of it right here. It just, that way you have a massive bulky connector sticking out the side. TPS sensor, it's still an ACES sensor, but you can also swap it with a GM if you ever smash one off the side of it. I've done it, so not a big deal. I think they come out of like the early 90s, like a Camaro or something like that, but we can look into that. But yeah, it's one of my favorite units. We got together, built the thing, a lot of requests, and here it is. So anywho's, the wiring harness isn't much different than a kill shot harness, other than the connector to the throttle body is a bit different. It still does timing control. It still has the loose lead wire with, it's actually the same loose lead wire for the kill shot. It still uses a single wideband 4.9 LSU O2 sensor. Nothing wild there. Still has the ability to trigger the fuel pump. It has a positive and negative to the battery, switch 12 volt. I'll lay this harness out here in a second, and we'll go through each one of these things. You'll see that it's extremely similar. So as a fuel sensor input, still has the same Bosch connector for the O2 sensor. Still the same coolant temp sensor connector, just the main throttle body connector's a smidge different. So they're not interchangeable with the kill shot, but it's based on the same structure. And we did it, we modified this just for the people, as we do around here. Because without you, there is no us. So let's get into the harness a little bit. So here we have a harness. And we'll start at the ECU side of it all. So if you're doing the old ECU, it's just to plug them in right here. So nothing too crazy, normal connections, smooth and easy, nice. Pins are wonderfully environmentally sealed and they laid out like that. So let's just continue on down here. Let's get it all laid out. We start here. We got the fuse number 1 and fuse number 2. You'll see that one to be a 30, one to be a 20. That's a fuse 2, so that's a fuel pump fuse. Right here is the main. It's a 30, nothing crazy. Just a blade. Like, I think they're called ATCs. You can get them at the auto parts stores if you ever want to replace one. If you ever do something funny and you pop a fuse, that's normally what happens is you'll have like a fuel pump short, or it'll go internally bad, and all of a sudden, you got yourself just a cheap 20 amp fuse gone. So a little bit of built-in protection there. Then we get down here, and the measurements. If you're ever like looking to buy one of these, you want to know how much distance between here and here, here to here, and so on and so forth. In the back of our manuals, there's actually the wiring schematics that has like the distance from each connector and then how long each leg is. So hopefully that helps for your build. I like to lay it all out in like cheap yarn and then put it all over the engine and figure out how I want to lay it all out before I even get a wiring harness. So Right here we got the main bundle, as I like to call it. We got the positive and negative direct to battery connection for transient voltage purposes. We got a fuel pump wire. If you're putting out much, if you're using it much more than like 15-20 amps on your fuel pump, you want to use this to trigger a relay just for safety reasons. Otherwise, you're going to end up running beyond what that fuse can do, and adds extra heat. Then we got ignition key, clean switch 12-volt wire. If you're running an older car without a clean source, like it's still tied into the alternator or some other triggered system, I'd recommend running a protection relay on this. Just a standard issue 40 amp relay, nothing crazy. So that's that portion of it. We'll move it on down. A couple of main relays here with some metal connectors. So if you're running some self-tappers, you have a nice stud you can put this up on. Not too bad. This is a 40 amp relay. This is a 4-pin, so it doesn't use the 5th one. You can see the wires in the back here, nice environmental seal. This one is the main relay, main voltage in. This is a fuel pump relay. So these, if it's outside the warranty and you're going to replace it, you can just get one of these. It's not a massive deal to find one of these relays. You can get them on Amazon. I don't think you can get this particular style at the auto parts store, but this is because it's environmentally sealed. It has a gasket in here. They're also pretty hard to get off there, but that's good. That means they're sealing up. Then we get to the CAN cable, standard issue CAN cable. So if you're doing an install layout and say the distance from your handheld to this CAN connector isn't enough, you can purchase about a meter or 6 meters of extra CAN extension wire from us. It's on our accessories parts on our website. So plug it in, run it all over the place. Like if you have I hate to say, an aquatic vehicle with a motor in the back and with your handheld up front, you'd want to get an extension for it. Don't hack into it and void the warranty on the harness. We don't really want that. So then we got the additional wiring harness. This is a situation, these things plug in right here, and they're sealed up pretty nice. So once they click in, they're in. Let's see what we got here. I have instantly knotted it all up. That's how it goes, right? Let's see. Let's get some of these combed out here. There we go. 1 second. Man. This is the same kind of business as the kill shot setup. We got the nitrous in wire, so it triggers it, retards timing, does its job. Tack out for your factory tachometer or aftermarket dash mount. We got the AC in. If you're running AC and it needs to trigger, like your AC clutch pulls in, does a thing. This right here will turn on some fans and up the idle just a smidge to help compensate for the parasitic drag that the AC compressor has. This is your ground trigger for your fan 2. So, you know, ground trigger relay setup. Same thing with fan 1. Then we got our TAC input. So it comes off your HEI. It'll hook to your coil negative, hook to your CDI box, hook to your Hall effect distributor if you're using that onto signal wire. And then we got, there we go, fuel level. This is coming soon, so we're leaving these in there for you. So this should read the resistance value off the fuel level sending unit in the tank, and then you can set it up and scale it appropriately depending on what vehicle you have. Rev wire, this is going to be a ground trigger for future expansion. If you're triggering a custom relay or what have you not, that's a whole different thing. We'll put out more information on that when it becomes available. So we already did the ACM. Point wire. This right here is a ground trigger. Like, it's a signal trigger. So if you're running a CDI box, like distributor in, you're running it to do timing control with a CDI box. This point wire goes to the white point wire on most aftermarket CDI boxes, especially ours. So that will right there be triggering your ground. And then we got the V main. This V main, I use it to trigger relays or power a Hall effect distributor only. So that's because it has such a load on it. With the rest of the system, this is tied into everything from coil power to a lot of other stuff. So it's not super good to put a lot of load on this because it affects the rest of the system so much. So that's that. We'll run it on down here. And then we got the VR wire. This will hook to our Aces Blackjack style distributor, or there's a few other brands out there. I'm not going to mention any names, but it also does plug in for a magnetic style 2-wire. So this is a, mag positive, mag negative, etc. Let's see. Let's move all this around. Let's get down to the bottom here. This right here, this will hook into our blackjack coil. Just a 2-wire, no big deal. You got voltage that's supplied through the V main, but also it's a ground trigger through the ECU itself, and that's what offloads that energy to give you a nice spark to your cylinders. Big fan of that. I wouldn't recommend using other coils for this. We have very specifically designed coils for this TFI style connector. It's sometimes pinned backwards of other aftermarket coils because we're very choosy over the coils we get manufactured. So this will be for the blackjack connector there. We got the throttle body plug. It's the next one down the list. This is nothing crazy. Plugs in. We're plugged in. This is picking up. It's driving the injectors. It's picking up the map sensor, the TPS, and it's driving the IAC motor inside of here. That's all the business that's going on inside of this throttle body. Nothing too wild, nothing too complex. I actually made a video about taking one of these apart once, but we'll get around to that. Let's see here. Let's just plug in everything we can plug in. Coolant temp sensor. Standard issue, Delphi, a bunch of other brands, AC Delco, this style GM connector. Nothing wild there, just needs to be in coolant. Preferably on the water neck or some water passage on the engine, so it gets the best opportunity to really see what temperature the engine is. Some people put them in the radiator and it's more of a delayed effect because of how the fuel does enrichment on it. So yeah, you want to keep this near the engine. But we did offer you, in case you wanted to do that, enough lead on here to do that function of putting it up at the radiator. Sensor input. It says fuel on it, but you can, if you're using it for oil sensor, like an oil pressure sensor, or using our ACES transducer, standard issue, GM style 3-pin sensor connection, nothing crazy. It's a 5-volt sensor, in case you're wondering. But yeah, if you're going to use it on our fuel pressure transducer, if you're using a fuel pressure transducer to plug into your block to get oil pressure, we added some options in the handheld so you can go in there and say, hey, this is for fuel or this is for oil, and get that pressure reading. And then we got our O2 sensor connector. So it's a 5-wire Bosch wideband LSU 4.9. Nothing crazy. You'll see we got 5 wires there. Looks like we populated all 6 on this side, but that's not really a big deal. We're not using number 6. So nothing crazy there. We're just not using it. We mainly probably populated that just to keep any dirt and debris out of it so we don't mess up this. Yeah, that's demystifying the whole thing. It's like a smaller version of a kill shot with a 2300 flange and only 2 barrels. So we made it for you. A lot of people asking for it. It was in the 4-barrel territory on a lot of V8 stuff, and a lot of people using straight 6 with this flange, and why not do it, right? So hopefully that helps. If you guys got any other questions, feel free to just drop in and let us know. Send us an email, send us a text, hit us up on the messenger. Go to acesefi.com for any more information, product manuals, install manuals, and videos for any of our products here. But next, we're probably going to be installing this on something. Might do it on the ACES truck just to have a little bit of fun. But yeah, stay with us. Thank you.